so easy to tell you, Josh, like, hey, just change your mindset. Just change your mindset and everything's going to be okay, right? Like, people need to see you as an authority figure in the community and you're the dentist and all this stuff, right? And then there's going to be some people who tell you, like, you're not an authority figure. You're just the dentist, right? This is the real world. Yeah. And we can bend to that. We can bend to that form of thinking and say, this is the real world. And I hate that. I hate it when people tell you, hey, that's not reality. In all honesty, they're just telling you what they think is their reality from their perception, from their focus, right? So don't try and push your reality onto me if it's negative.
Hey everybody, what's up? Welcome to Go Live. I'm your host, Joshua Scott. Man, I'm sitting here on episode 24. I got the one and only. I finally got him. I've been trying nonstop.
Whatever.
No, that's not true. Michael Arias is with us today, everybody, the ground marketer. Hey man, how are you?
I'm doing good. Really quick, everybody. I have been reaching out to Josh and I'm like, I'm not jealous at all that you have other people on there, but when is it my shot? And he's like, let me check my schedule. And then, like, have you ever seen the bits of like Matt Damon and Jimmy Kimmel?
Yeah.
Where I'm basically Matt Damon, everybody. And I'm like, is it my turn yet? So right now, internet connection just goes off or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's true. But I'll have to reach out to my booking agent and find out why it took you so long to get you on this show. I don't know, man. It's every week I show up. I'm like, who am I interviewing? That's not true.
No, man. I appreciate it though. Thank you for thinking of me and having me on.
Yeah, man. Hey, we have to like get later into the season and make sure that we're leveraging some like high powered, heavy hitter guests, so that's not just all on the front end and then people lose interest, right? So that's why you're here.
Yeah, right. No, man, but I appreciate. Hey, really quick, I wanted to ask.
Yeah.
When you were thinking of the title for this, why Go Live? Was it just like, oh, Go Live?
Honestly, that was my wife, Joanna. Like COVID hit, the whole quarantine thing happened. And like that first week, we were all kind of like, whoa, what's going to happen here? What's going to look different?
Yeah. And
obviously not traveling. And we had like a pretty legit conference schedule the first quarter of this year. And so she was like, what if you just started, like, obviously there's so much value just bringing industry leaders on and going like, how are you doing with this? How are we getting through it? How are you coping? And she's like, what if we just started doing lives? We call them Go Live with Joshua Scott. I was like, yeah, I mean, the team did the mock-up branding and logo. And it's like, yeah, let's go for it.
Yeah. Man, that's so
like
cool.
It or no?
A team like that you have an idea and you're just like, put it on the board, guys. And then, you know what I mean? Like they do it and make it look amazing.
Yeah, Go Live. And I'm not saying this to like brag or anything, but honestly, we're at this point now. It's kind of crazy, and this happened with quarantine and COVID, where it kind of switched, and now they're producing stuff and they're coming to me with ideas, and I'm having to like shut it down. I'm like, so great idea. I can't do any more right now, but it's been awesome. I mean, there's so many of them that really just take ownership of what they're doing, which has been awesome. So,
do you see in the future another Josh, like in Studio 88?
Like if I could clone myself?
Yeah, or like there's another, like right now, you know how you're like, hey, more ideas and more speaking and more all this, and you're like, that's great, but there's only one of me. What if you hired, what would that be? Like a CEO, COO? I don't know, you know what I mean? But do you see in the future that or no?
I mean, yeah, at some point. We actually have 3 Joshes on the team, technically.
Jaden Smith.
Yeah, there's 2 other people named Josh as well. But no, yeah, I mean, at some point, I love leading a business. I love leading leaders, and that's kind of part of our process. And so we definitely have some people on the team stepping up in the more leadership positions, and I will let them go as far as they want to take it, man. So.
Have you ever had to deal with?
Is this my interview or your interview?
No,
keep asking. It's cool. I'll switch it.
Really quick. Have you ever had to deal with so far, like furloughing or actually firing one of your employees in the past?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah, we just had to do our first fire termination like 2 months ago.
Oh, that was that recent?
Yeah.
Dude, can you talk about it or no?
Yeah. Yeah, I probably won't name the name. You know the person, but I probably won't name the name. But yeah, we can talk about it.
What was the reason why?
Um, yeah,
How do you even come to that decision actually? Like, how do you come to that decision to say, I'm going to let you go instead of, I'm going to give you one more chance?
because there were lots of one more chances. And at some point, I think you're like, the one more chance isn't the solution. And I think you kind of know it too. It's like everybody says that, like hire slow, fire fast. You
Yeah.
usually know it. Yeah, I mean, Joe, and you know this about Joe and I, we're actually really, really generous and try to make it work any way we can. And then at some point you're like, we've overextended ourselves, and that's not solving it. So
How do you know that you overextended yourself though?
because we keep doing it and keep giving it and keep like, what about this? And what if we try to solve this? And what if we try and solve that? And then let's solve this. And at some point, it's not always our responsibility to solve some of that stuff, to get it out of the way. It's just like wasn't a good fit. And then like COVID too had some added some complication to it for sure. So
Yeah, because I feel like the whole from what I know, I don't know who it is, but like the whole Studio 88 team was always like super loving, welcoming, like awesome, right? So I'm like, it must be hard to like just let someone go, you know? Furloughing, I can understand. You know what I mean? Like, hey, we can't. You know what I mean? Like, we're gonna go under if we do. But firing,
yeah. But you know what was interesting is like the team always knows it, and there's two sides of it. Like they're always going to be super hospitable and receiving, and yes, we want you, especially if it seems like there's a good chemistry fit. But at the same time, our team is really smart. And once it was done, we had quite a few people that were like, yeah, like we saw X, Y, Z, and you know, it wasn't adding up, and we didn't know that this was going to work long term. And I'm like, really? And they're like, oh yeah. I'm like, yeah, okay. You know, so have you had to fire somebody?
yeah, I have. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like recently or no?
I thankfully, oh, actually, no, I actually literally let them go when COVID happened, but not because of COVID. It was that month, like that March.
Yeah.
I let them go. And I think I don't want to say it, never mind. But some people may know who it is, some people may not.
Yeah.
But it's just, to me, it's hard, man. It's hard in the sense to know if I'm like, dang, do I just suck as a leader? Or is it like they are not performing well? Did I give them enough shots? Like, I kind of try to adopt your model a little bit where I'm like, hey, man, I think you're great. I don't know what I need you for yet, but jump on the bus, you know?
Yeah.
But I've noticed when I do that, I leave them in the unknown for too long, and they'll start doing things. And I'm like, I don't like that. I don't like that either. You did this wrong. And then I end up letting them go. And I'm like, was it even their fault? Or was it just you?
Yeah. Dude, so that the fact that you said that's crazy, because that was honestly, I always look at myself first. Like I'm always very self-critical. So when anything's going on like that, I'm like, where am I failing them as a leader? How can I do better? That's why I was like, Joe and I are like, hey, one more chance. Let us fix this. Let us fix that. But then like the other part that was crazy was we took that approach, and it's worked in the past where we're like, hey, you're a good fit for this team. Super talented. Let's figure this out as we go if you're cool doing that. And that's worked. It didn't work in this case. It was just too far out. The systems weren't built. There was kind of this like, yeah, come on board and be a part of it. And in the end, I think it was too much time to try to get them up to speed. And it created a funkiness for a while. And then in the end, it was just like, yeah, this is not going to work. So if I was like judging myself on it, looking back, I'm like, if we need to hire somebody, but we don't have the systems built, then pause, build the systems, and then hire them. Don't hire them. And then and we had Christmas break in there and all this stuff. And it was just like, it just drug out. And by the time we got the systems in place, it was like too far gone.
Too much. That's smart. I like that. Building the system first, and then, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. So
sit down. And that's the thing. Like, I don't have the time to sometimes sit down and actually build the system. So I'm like, let me hire somebody to do that. But then I don't know how to, dude.
Yeah. But look, there's people out there that can do that, right? You bring them on and they know how to like map out that course and create those systems. And then there are people that just don't. They're just kind of sitting there like, what do you want me to do? Like when, how? And you're like, I'll get to it. Hold on. Yeah. Like I need to think about that. Cause they're having trouble navigating that on their own. And if you get in that situation, you're just like, it's not a good deal.
That's true, man. That's true.
But you know, and what's tough is it's like, especially when it's really good people, it's a hard decision. And I mean, we wrestled with it for a long time. So I don't know how you dealt, does that cause you anxiety personally when you know you have to do that?
I've kind of grown numb to it a little bit lately.
You're ice cold. You just walk in, you're like, that's it.
I'm just like, I'm very big of like communication, meaning like, hey, I understand you have a life. Like pretend like, let's just say, Josh, you work for me, right? Like if you have a life, cool. You're going to take vacation, cool. But let me know, right? So if I ask you a question and I'm like, hey man, when is this going to go live or the editing or whatever, right? And I don't hear back from you like in 3 days, I assume you just quit on the spot, right? That's just my assumption. I'm like, I'm going to go with someone else immediately. Yeah. But if you're like, oh, sorry, I was on vacation. I'm like, tell me like, hey, I'm on vacation. I'll get back to it in 3 days. Cool. Go do. You can be gone for a month. I don't care.
Yeah.
But if I don't hear back from you for a while and then you're like, oops, sorry here. I'm like, no, you just quit on me. Yeah. So.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's good. I mean, one of our core values as a company is responsiveness. And so I have like a 24-hour rule with my team, whether it's with team members or with clients, where you need to hear back. Like everybody's expected to clear communication once in the morning and once in the afternoon at a minimum, you know? And so like if I email you something, you don't have to get back to me like that hour or 2 hours, but like that day, like I need a response back.
Yeah. So working online, like, you know how a lot of us are transitioning to working like online a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Is that how you do it with your team? Like you're like, hey, in the morning, check in with me. At night, check in with me.
Yeah. And it's not like they have to check in. It's just that they have to make sure any communication is cleared. So like you can't, like what I don't want to do is send you something at like 2 PM and then like the next day at 1 o'clock, I get a response. I'm kind of like, hey, you know, by 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, whatever, just kind of go through, clear everything. Even if it's hey, Josh, I saw this, give me a day, give me 2 days, whatever to get back to it. I'm like, sweet, 100%. Just acknowledge. Because what we do is we send emails out into space and they just disappear. And people are like, did you get it? Are you there? You know, and it's just kind of like, I got it. Just give me a day. I'll get back to you. So, but we use Slack, we use Basecamp, we use email. So I'm like, just go through your channels, make sure everything is like wrapped up once or twice a day. Because a lot of our team does creative work, so they can just like block that time and be like, I need to produce creatively. I'm like, sweet. Just make sure you're up on your communication as well.
Yeah, that's good, man.
Yeah. So dude, give me like, so you're in Southern California, which I feel like I'm continuously envious of that. So it's funny. I've been wearing my blue LA Dodgers hat that you got me a bunch lately. Yeah. It's like I've got a black one and a blue one, and those are my two hats this past year. So thank you. But what's it like out there in California right now, man?
I mean, I kind of was telling you a little bit before when we press record. I mean, it's almost every day, not every day. I don't go to Target every day. Okay. But like when I do go to Target, there's always somebody like complaining about a mask, like making a big deal. Right. Yeah. And it's gone to the point where a lot of us used to start recording it. And then now we're just like, oh, it's another person. Who cares? We don't have to record it. Right. Like so I mean, I feel like people have kind of cared a little less or a lot less. A lot of things look normal. Like the only stuff that's not open is gyms right now and like bars, salons, well, at least some places. I have been hearing like on some Facebook groups that I'm in, a part of this community, they're like, hey guys, there's an underground gym. Message me if like, and I'm like, let me see if I can figure this out, you know, because that'd be interesting.
Yeah.
That, I mean, I don't know, man. People are saying there might be another way. People are saying there might not. I've been seeing more and more brick and mortar businesses kind of like, it says for lease now, right? Where it used to be, or like they're selling it. I mean, I do see some of that, but other than that, I mean, I think it's kind of weird.
How's the whole gym thing been for you? Because I know you like to be there and work out.
Yeah, dude. So when it first happened, I was like, oh, you know what? I'm gonna be able to work out at home and do push-ups and, you know, like pull-ups and stuff. I didn't even have a pull-up bar actually, so push-ups and stuff like that. And then you kind of get tired of it. You're like, okay, here goes day 10 of like 400 push-ups or something, right? Or whatever, right? and then like air squats or whatever. So you get bored. It's more like cardio work than anything. So then as soon as the gyms opened up, I went immediately. Then it shut down again. So I was immediately like, let me go to OfferUp and just pick up as much gym equipment from everybody. So yeah, I've got some squat racks and everything. So I find it more peaceful now. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
wake up in the morning at 5 and you just sit there sipping coffee and, oh, now it's time to squat, or now it's time to, I like it, you know what I mean? How are the gyms closed where you're at or not?
No, they opened probably late May, and they've been open since then. So I mean, I've been back to CrossFit for a couple months, which has been cool. Yeah, I took that same approach, man. When the quarantine happened, I was like, all right, I'm just gonna, because CrossFit was like putting out daily like videos and all that, and it's just hard. I don't have all the equipment, so
Yeah.
I was like, I'm just gonna do push-ups every day and go for like a 2 to 3 or 4 mile run, and I did that most of quarantine. So I started, I think the first time I got like 100 push-ups, but I still, if I don't do CrossFit, I still do my push-ups every day. I'm doing like 225 a day right now. Yeah. So 3 sets, just however many I can get in 3 sets. That's what it
What's
is.
the
So,
most you can do like on the first set?
I mean, it's usually like the first set's usually like 75 to 80, and then it's like 70, and then, whatever that math is. But yeah.
Yeah, man,
So
that's good.
yeah, it's been cool, but I know, yeah. When COVID first hit, it was like I jumped online. I was like, well, let me just get some gym equipment, and like nobody had anything, right?
Anything Amazon, like nothing had anything.
I
I
know.
ordered some stuff on Amazon, not even looking at when it was going to arrive. And it said like, will arrive September like 11th or something in between that time. And I'm like, we're barely like in April. So
Yeah,
why not?
yeah. We ordered a rower right when everything went down, and it was like get it at the beginning of June, and then it got delayed. I think we got it like the end of June, beginning of July, and then we went on vacation. So I haven't even really used it much, but it'll probably be useful in the winter.
Yeah. You think it's going to continue all the way through winter?
I don't know. I mean, schools went completely virtual where you guys are at, right?
100% virtual now. Yeah. So like,
Yeah. Dude, the Rose Bowl parade got canceled.
yeah.
I mean, that's like January 1st. Like they canceled that a couple months ago.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's because like they can't work on them right now, right? It takes like months to put those floats together.
Around right now is where you start seeing like ideas being conveyed and stuff like that for the floats, or like actually being implemented on floats and stuff. So yeah, they canceled all of that. So we'll see. It's going to be interesting how everything turns out.
No, but practices are open, right? What's your sense there? Like, do you have a pulse on like how practices are doing and how things are going?
So, I mean, I talk to practices every day, literally now. Like it's escalated times 1,000 of how much we talk. And it's not like I talk to them like, hey, coaching or anything like that. It's more like an interview, or they just call me because they have questions or anything like that. And so what I've noticed is like, there's been a ton where, yeah, it's like, it's going great, right? Systems are a little bit longer. The new patient journey is a little bit longer because of PPE and all these things. But other than that, and the protocols and the systems, it's been going pretty well. I haven't really heard, I mean, this is what I've seen. If you've already been struggling before this, you're probably struggling now. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
It's still going to continue. Not maybe a different way, but it will. But if you're killing it back then, you're probably killing it now. Like I know a lot of practices that are doing amazing, right? And they're thinking to bring on an associate, look for another location to open up, and all these things. I mean, like, what have you been seeing?
Yeah, I think it seems like most everybody's doing really well this summer, which I thought might be the case. I mean, in some sense, it's like dentistry's having its best summer ever. And I know a lot of our clients, as I'm interacting with them, like their June was super good. Most of them are having a record July, and August looks the same way. And this though, it's like I start talking to them about, okay, like, but what does September and October look like? Because that's that 6-month mark where no recare was scheduled. So I think we're going to have this like big dip and then a really high, and then probably a dip back down before things level out. But yeah, we'll see. I'm talking to everybody right now. Like, what can we do right now to make sure September and October stay full? Because if you can get through that, you can actually maybe make up that loss in March and April, and even come out with some growth this year for sure.
Yeah. What are you telling them? Like what they can be doing in September and October?
I mean, some of it's from an internal standpoint of like everybody's so over capacity now. Like if you can push some people back a little bit, that's one option. If you can, based on how your insurance plans and how those work, maybe you can get people in a little bit earlier, before that 6 month mark. Maybe it's month 5 or 4.5 or something. Internal referrals right now, I think if you, or even just an ad spend, the next couple months, like just put an investment in for 3 months just to kind of get you through that part of it. And even an ad spend around safety. I mean, so many of our practices have done so much to be safe, and asking patients, like, hey, Mrs. Smith, we love seeing you. I know you can tell how much we've invested here in creating a safe experience for our patients. So many people still have anxiety about going to the dentist. If you would refer any friends or family members that are in that position, I think they'd come here. We take great care of them. Something like that, I think is really smart right now.
Yeah. I know when it comes to like internal referrals, something that we kind of like always tell our people is like, it can be as simple as this when you ask for one. Like, how they're like checking out, right? They're walking out or whatever. And then maybe you might ask them for their next appointment. I don't know, whatever you do, right? Or payment. And then you can say, so how do we do, right? More than likely, like 95%, I don't know, I just threw that number out there, but 95% are going to be like, oh, you did good, right? Everything went well. Oh, that's great. And then you just ask them like, would you recommend us to a friend or family? Yeah, of course I would. Oh, who? And that's it. Just stay quiet. And they're going to be like, oh, well, I don't know. Maybe my father, my wife, my husband, anybody, right?
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, cool. If you want, we can call them and bring them in, right? Some of our people are doing like, oh, we can call them in and they can get a free exam immediately. And it's like, oh, okay, yeah, just give them a call on this, blah, 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 right? And then you get a name and number down, right? Like you actually get a person down. But it's really that simple, you know what I mean? Like in the sense of all you really got to do is just ask, like, oh, who? I think a lot of the times we're uncomfortable with that, like long silence where they're like, but kind of we have to get uncomfortable with it,
Yeah. No, for sure. I love that. What, okay, well, look, I put this question down because I was like, number one, I'm not going to ask you about how you got into dentistry because I think you and I have talked like 3 or 4 times, and I know that, and I think everybody asks you that on interviews, like how'd you get into dentistry, and so. But here's what I thought was a good question: when did you know, or when did you decide that you were kind of all in on dentistry?
I still haven't. No.
You're like, I'm not actually.
I'm not.
I'm pivoting right now.
So all in on dentistry, I think is when it was before I created like the web's everything, right? I think majority of people know I used to be a nutritionist. And so before that, I had a client who was a consultant, dental consultant, didn't know what a dental consultant was. Then we went, he's like, hey, go get me new patients and I'll give you $1,000, right?
Yeah.
Just to give me like a couple for this week. And in my mind, I'm like, a couple's 2 to 3. So, oh my gosh, 1,000? Heck yeah, I think it was until I started working part-time for that office because I was able to bring in new patients through ground marketing, right? And then from that point on, the practice owner wanted to bring me on part-time. And in that moment, I noticed other practices around her location without knowing, like they were just like, hey, whatever she's paying you, I'll double it. Just come work for me. And I'm like, I don't know, she's really cool. I don't really have to I had a lot of autonomy with her, Yeah. It wasn't like micromanaging. So I was like, maybe I'll work part-time for you. And then I noticed I was spread too thin. So at that moment I was like, there's something here, let me investigate it a little bit more. And at that time I was listening to like podcasts about blogging and things like that. So I was like, let me try writing what I know down. And I wrote it down, and I guess you can say my mind was all in, but I wasn't all in into the idea of like, hey, I didn't even know what a side hustle was or anything like that, right? I was just like, let me just put a blog out there and whoever reads it,
Yeah. I think it's an interesting question because like most people that are in the dental profession, especially on the clinical side, like doctor, hygienist, like somewhat you committed to a course of education that got you there. But for so many of us, we weren't sitting in high school going, yeah, I want to be in the dental profession, you kind of fall into it.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. It's a curious question. Like at what point did that happen? At what point, like what made that you decide, but yeah.
Yeah. I do remember like, thinking that like, I don't even like, I remember I was doing my taxes or something like that. And then they're like, so what is your profession? And I was like, I looked at my wife and I was like, what do I do? Like, I don't even know what I do. She's like, dentistry? I don't know. And I was like, can we put just marketing down? And she's like, yeah, just marketing. And normally when I tell people I do marketing, they're like, oh, like social media. And I'm like, no, not.
Yeah, right.
Nah, I don't even know how to do that. You know what I mean? So I was like, other things, but
yeah. I have these like stages of answers. Like if I'm on a plane or something and somebody's like, yeah, so what do you do? I'm like, oh, I own a marketing company. And sometimes they're just like, oh, sweet. And that just like, it just stops. I'm like, good, fine. And, oh, what kind of marketing do you do? And I'm like, usually, so we work a lot in healthcare and sometimes it stops there. But then if they keep going, like, well, so like what, like hospitals, like vets? And I'm like, no, actually dentistry. And, so I kind of like stage it as they are interested.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. Like you've rehearsed it already. I have yet to practice that and rehearse it. And
maybe I should do it the other way. Like just straight up come out and be like, yeah, I work in dental marketing. And they're like, what is that? Like, but
they're like,
yeah.
Who knows? This is a question though.
If you weren't doing this, what would you be doing?
I think I would still be in nutrition probably. I think so. I don't know. Have you ever, and maybe a lot of people watching or people who will be watching this can kind of attest to this. Have you ever had a hobby where you're like, this is it. This is my passion. I love this. Like I want to do this for the rest of, I love this hobby. And then you get so good at that hobby that people are like, I want to pay you maybe to train me, maybe to do my nutrition meal and plans like that.
Yeah.
And then you're like, yes. And you start doing it and you're like, this is what I was meant. I mean, like I find fulfillment in this.
Yeah.
I do not have that with nutrition. So like, that's the issue, I think, is when I was working for nutrition and doing these meal plans for our diabetic patients, for our cancer patients, all these things, I was more saddened at the fact that they had 1,000,001 excuses for not doing something so simple than to be like, this is it. I'm going to do it because this is my life. You know what I mean? Like that's the thing I don't think people got. It's like, there's no negotiation. There's no like, oh, you can do it if you want, but if you don't, it's okay. It's like, you can do it or you're going to die. Like you're dead if you don't do this, but they kind of like, I guess, want to negotiate and try and find other reasonings. And I'm not that type of, I guess, nutrition. I wasn't that type where I was very consoling. Like, I understand. I was like, you suck those tears back up and you better do this, okay? Or else you have kids, you know what I mean? And you have all this. Like, do this now. Yeah. And it worked sometimes. And sometimes I was like, I wasn't the right, you know what I mean? But it just would, I grew tired of that. So I was thinking maybe nutrition, or it would be something like working at a national park or something like that. You know what I mean? Like Ron Swanson, where he's just or something like that. Or something in marketing too. Like I love coming up with ideas and visions and putting in videos and things like that too. So
that's funny. Michael Arias, nutrition. Listen to me or die. Like that's your tagline, right?
It wasn't like my ideas, like of like, hey, like I was never restrictive in the sense of like, I believe in a lot in like the science behind the numbers. Like this is your macronutrients, your protein, carbs, fats, and fibers. Fix it around it. If you need a meal plan, let me make that meal plan for you. And this is what you got to follow for the next 3 days. I'll create another one. And the next 3 days, I create another one, right? And so forth.
Yeah.
But it was to the point where, I mean, like I told you, I feel like they had options. Like there was some who were like, man, like couldn't even move, couldn't get up. And they're like, I just want to see like my daughter's wedding, or I just want to be a part of it. I want to walk her down the aisle or whatever. And it wasn't so much like the fact that was it. Oh, I'm going to make you walk down your daughter. That was like the emotional motivation. It was more the fact like, oh my gosh, if you are 10 more pounds heavier, you will like just your knees are going to give out. You're going to deteriorate, you know?
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's like, and I understand it's an addiction. Like, you know what I mean? I understand a lot of these things, but at one point there has to be a moment of, and it's not always, here's the thing. I don't know if you read the book Atomic Habits.
Yeah.
he talks about environment, like change your habits by changing your environment a lot of the times.
Yep.
And that is true. A lot of the times it's what we've noticed. It's like the parents, or some of them were young, man, the parents or the people around them almost like wanted them like that. You know what I mean? They almost wanted them like, here, I know you're upset, but here's more food, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
To make you happy. And it's like, that's a habit that they've grown. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they need to change that in some way or form. And a lot of it does come down to emotion. And I don't know, man. We can go on and on about that, but.
Yeah. Has that always come natural to you, like the fitness part and even like the discipline for that? Or was there kind of a time where it was like, all right, this is serious?
So I don't know if you ever knew this or not. I think you did. I used to be 240 pounds of just fat, like just.
Stop.
I have pictures.
Dude, how tall are you?
5'8". I was huge all the way from middle school. I was already hitting the 200s all the way to high school and a little bit of college. I was really bad. I was like in the point where I was like, I don't care about the scale anymore. I don't care about anything.
Whoa.
One day, just kind of like, and it was opposite because my brother, he was in the football team. He was a running back. Like,
Okay.
it was complete opposites. And it was like a switch. I was just like, let me go out for a walk. And I started walking more, which walking is a good form of transportation, but it's not exercise, right? So just to be like clear with everybody. So I would.
Dude, you are hardcore, man. If somebody wants to work with you, it's just like, yeah, good effort, but that is not exercise.
Yeah.
You just
transport. By the way, if anybody wants to know, that's how exactly I am with my marketing too. My ground marketing, like it conveys the same way. Now you see it, right? Like I'm like, hey man, like going in there and just dropping off a gift basket, that's nice and all, but that's not going to pay the bills. You're just hoping, and hoping doesn't do really much crap. But like, just motivate.
Yeah, hope doesn't pay the bills. It
doesn't pay the bills. So, anyways, yeah, I lost the weight throughout that time. I walked for a month straight. Then I started power walking. Honestly, I started power walking until I like stopped getting rashes and things like that, right? And then after that,
what? Hold on. So power walking. What can you demonstrate that?
Just like this? Like, because
I don't know. Like, what's the difference between walking and power walking?
So walking is like, power walking to me is this, where I can answer yes and no questions. That's it. Okay. I cannot like, oh, the other day I was at Whole Foods and we were buying, no, it's not like that. I can just be like, yes, no. Walking is I can conversate.
Okay.
Power walking is like, I can answer yes and no questions, but I'm a little bit out of breath. Everybody has their own tempo, right? So I can show you a tempo, but that might not be.
Okay. Are your arms really like going for it?
I run like Napoleon Dynamite.
The shoulder swing.
Yeah,
do you have like the wristbands and ankle bands like for the weight and like sweatband and you're just like going?
I don't have any of that, dude.
No?
Like, I don't have any of that. Like, I don't even think that was a thing, like Apple Watches or any smartwatches back then.
Yeah.
And yeah, power walk. Then I started jogging, and I would jog for 5 minutes, then 10 minutes, then 20. And then I didn't know anything about nutrition. That's why I went to school, because I lost weight, but I was getting skinny fat. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I wanted to just, it sucks because you're like, I lost weight, but I still am embarrassed to take off my shirt, or, you know what I mean? I still look weird. So I wanted to better composite my body, have better body composition. So yeah,
that's awesome. Yeah. Man, I don't think I ever realized that. So I mean, that was like something like personal transformation you went through. It's cool. That's awesome. What's tell me, you're the ground marketer. That's kind of your deal.
I know, I feel like everybody's watching. They're like, what does he do?
I know. Yeah, we took. Now we're coming in. Yeah, Brandon Pryor, by the way, says picks or it didn't happen. So he wants.
I have picks.
Yeah,
I have picks. Yeah, but I don't have a lot of. Okay, I don't have picks where I'm like, when you see yourself and you're like, and everybody can attest to this. Like, they take a picture of you in the group, right? You're like, yeah. You look at yourself and you're like, ugh. Let's take another one, right? Like, delete that. Let's take another one. So I deleted a lot of those. Well, we had like the Kodak cameras or the disposable ones.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
A lot of them are at home. They're not on smartphones, but yeah.
Well, you find when you have to throw it up on social media, because I think the world would love to see it.
I'll put it in the comments. I think I have like in here, but yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So obviously, I think I'm interested in this because ground marketing is probably changed a little bit through this. So how's that been like, and how are you coaching your clients, and what's that look like now?
So ground marketing, that's a good question, man, because when everything happened, I was like, let's just push through it, right? It's only going to last. Remember when March happened and we were like, hey, this might happen until April.
Right.
I know. And now it's like forever. So
Yeah.
I was just telling my team, like, let's just push through it. Don't worry, nothing's going to happen. And lo and behold, it still got stuck, right? So I think I reacted, which was bad on my end, right? I was thinking like, oh my gosh, like there's nothing happening. We can't do events. We just got to try and pump out as much content and do what we can, which is like the worst I could have done, because I was just doing busy work, right? I wasn't really like sitting down and thinking of ways we can be productive. So now that I guess I gave myself like a month break to focus, and then I decided, I'm like, let me see what works, what I go do, right? So I noticed a lot of people have been asking me like how to do like grand openings, open houses, grand reopenings, right? Things like that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, let me see what we can do. And so we're all in this struggle in the same way. All these small businesses, right? We're all looking for help, right? Whether it's like, oh my God, there's more business coming my way. There's more this and that. So that's what I kind of like was tugging on more when it came to the small businesses and ground marketing. One thing I noticed is when I would call locations saying, hey, we have freebies for you guys, it doesn't work anymore. Like they're like, no, thank you. We don't need freebies, because we don't know, right? It's like, oh, is it infected? We don't know. All these things back then, we didn't know. So I started saying like, hey, we have hygiene kits and we want to take care of you guys. Mm-hmm. And they're like, oh my gosh, yes, definitely. Thank you so much for thinking of us. Where are you from, right? And then I would go down there, drop off some things, obviously with a mask, right? And then let them know like, hey, for you guys and your families, we're actually doing this right now, which could have been an incentive or no incentive, right? We can just say, if you haven't been to the dentist, we want to make sure you guys are clean. So just as taking care of our community, we wanted to do some free exams for you and your family. And then people would sign up, right? So I noticed, oh yeah, it just took a little bit of pivoting, but that's all. Now, when it came to grand openings and open houses, that took a little bit more pivoting. Virtual events. There's a practice down the street where we're like, hey, why don't you invite some of your local influencers from this place, right? And then why don't we do some of this and that? And they would come, and it would be like maybe 4 or 5 local influencers, right? Bloggers in that location. But then we'd have like a huge virtual Zoom party. And that would be amazing. From that point on, people would put in the chats like their emails, book me online when you guys open, all these things. So there has been a lot pivoting, but I think the concept and the principles behind it, they're always going to hold strong. You know what I mean? Like communication and supporting each other.
Yeah. So. Yeah. Well, I was going to say the one like really, really positive side is the opportunity to be supportive of other local businesses is just off the chart right now.
Yeah.
So, I would think that would create a bunch of open doors for sure.
Yeah. And the thing is, so here's the thing, like a lot of people kind of say like, when it comes to your mindset, right? Sometimes people say like, hey, it's so easy to tell you, Josh, like, hey, just change your mindset. Just change your mindset and everything's going to be okay, right? Like people need to see you as an authority figure in the community and you're the dentist and all this stuff, right? And then there's going to be some people who tell you like, you're not an authority figure. You're just the dentist, right? This is the real world. Yeah. And we can bend to that. We can bend to that form of thinking and say, this is the real world. And I hate that. I hate it when people tell you, hey, that's not reality. Mm-hmm. Because in all honesty, they're just telling you what they think is their reality from their perception, from their focus, right? So don't try and push your reality onto me if it's negative. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So when you're talking to, or if you are a dentist or something, make sure your mindset and your reality is like, I am an authority figure. I am the go-to dentist here. I need to be out there, not only just like getting new patients, obviously, but showing up and saying like, hey guys, I'm going to take care of you. Not like, I want to take care of you. Is that okay? No, I'm going to take care of you. Here's some freebies and everything. Put your name and number down, and I personally will give you a call, or you can go on my website and, book an appointment online. For this month, we are giving you guys whatever, right? Just everybody in this corporation, everybody in this business, it's on me. Don't even worry about it. And they're like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. If you have an emergency, let me know immediately. I'll get you in as soon as possible too. And so you're showing, you know what I mean? You're changing your reality a little bit more in that way.
Yeah.
So I think that's key right now.
That's so good. Because I think what I saw happen with a lot of this, and I was talking about this from the beginning, was, yeah, like as a dentist, that role of a trusted community healthcare advisor expert is there. Like it's yours to take it. And what we saw through this was, so many people either like shrink back and just be like, oh yeah, we got to shut down and that's it. Or those that stood up and said, yeah, I can be a leader through this. I can be a voice through this. And regardless of whether or not you could do dentistry, there was so much opportunity for that type of market share to step up and say, hey, yeah, we're going to lead. We're going to be a voice. We're going to be the lighthouse, in the community. So yeah, it's all mindset. But I love that you said that.
Yeah. Like I like the fact that a lot of right now people are showing up a lot more on social media, right?
Yeah.
With whatever reasons, like just to say hi, just to talk to them, just to be open. You know what I mean? It's I know a lot of the times right now we're already open and we're like, well, I've always wanted to document my startup, but right now is a good time to document like how you're doing, you know what I mean? Like during COVID. And then when you're going to reopen, like, man, documenting is huge right now. I would definitely put that out there.
Yeah, no, that's good. What is, how, like if your clients are interacting with you, what are you guys offering? What are your programs right now? Like how are you engaging with your client base?
So right now we put on hold the ground marketing workshop. And the ground marketing workshop was just like our ground. So I don't do much one-on-one coaching.
Yeah.
Not enough time. So like I just mainly have like a group, right? And so that's on hold right now. We do have the ground marketing course that's still out there. We are coming out with something really awesome here soon in September, which you guys will see. And then something that's pivoted a little bit that I didn't notice and it kind of just come out of nowhere is like about hyper-focusing. So almost maybe since honestly February, tons of people kind of have reached out just wondering like what's the best marketing, right? And we try a lot of the times to do it all. And then we think we need to continue doing it all. But instead we really need to just like hyper focus on what's working, right? So I don't know, there's something there for anybody watching. Like there is something there, like on showing practice owners, business owners, anybody, like just how to hyper focus, like really focus down on the small systems that will change the big splash, right? The results.
Yeah.
Not so much on the, like, because we all have goals, right? But just saying that you have a goal out loud is not going to make you get that goal. It's small daily things. It's the small systems that you have to continue to adjust and pivot. That's what's so there. I've kind of been helping some practices with that. But other than that, there's that, and then there's obviously the podcast. So like, I share everything. I interview people like you, everybody on the podcast.
Yeah.
And that's the thing I like love the most is like conversation. Yeah.
Yeah. I like that. I was just talking to somebody else because I think that concept is legit. And one of my recent conversations was about finding marketing is not always easy. And like you hear things other people are doing and it works. And you're like, okay, if I do that, then it works the same way. And sometimes it's about actually finding the thing that works. And when you do, almost that hyper focus of like, don't just blast everything, like find the thing that works, lock down on it. Once you find out what works and why it works, you could actually probably then scale it back up to get bigger results with it. Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's key. Like hyper focusing on that and executing.
Yeah.
Cause I mean, dude, we can study gravity our whole lives and never learn to fly. So, I mean, in reality, we need to study and implement and execute. So I think execution is like the biggest thing after that.
Yeah. Dude, you probably don't even notice. You have these like amazing one-liners. Like you can study gravity your whole life and you may never fly. Like that's brilliant. You know, and you're the guy that originally first said like hope doesn't pay the bills. And I was like, dang, That's so good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, you're the one who came up with hustle marketing, and I was like, dang it, I should have done that.
Yeah. Or listen to, do what I say or die. I think that's another one we can attribute to you. All right, podcast you just released. Last time I looked, which was earlier this week, you were on episode 245. Did you ever think it would get that far?
No, I don't know, man. I honestly, I told you about this before. When I first made the podcast, I was like, I think I'm the first dental podcaster out there. And then at the time, there was only like 20 something, I think. You were one of them. And I was like, I got to get Josh on here. Actually, my goal was like, maybe I can do part-time work for Josh one of these days, but I don't know. You know what I mean? But then I got you on. I think you were like one of the first ones, right? And after that, it grew, man. It grew. And I think it was a good lesson because the first like 20 episodes, it was just me talking.
Yeah.
I think a good lesson in that is like, so a lot of the times when we speak, when we listen, we're just waiting to speak, really, right? You say something and then I'm like, oh, I have a good thing. Well, let me just wait till he's done and I'll speak, right? Podcasting has really taught me to just listen, like in the moment, like hear, listen, and then validate. Validation is like important, right?
Yeah.
Even if you don't agree, you can say like, oh man, that's interesting, right? But I feel like it's really taught me to do that in all aspects of life. I mean, it's conversation is like rich, you know what I mean? Like it's beautiful to me, conversation, because it's like it can put you in a good mood, bad mood. It can mix with your emotions. It can do so many things, and you learn so much. And I'm able to speak with like people like you, like thought leaders. I mean, now I'm able to speak with authors of like my favorite books. And so to me, I'm like, man, if I didn't have this platform, I would never be, you know what I mean? I can't just be like, hey, let me jump on a call with you or whatever. It's like I'm able to speak with them and I ask them what they want. And thankfully, anybody watching out there who listens to the podcast, I appreciate you so much because like you listen too, you know what I mean? And we kind of have the same, I guess, like thought waves. So that's cool.
Yeah. I think, gosh, looking back on that, I think I was like episode 31 or something. You definitely had a good amount going. And you kind of had that whole like NPR kind of vibe at the beginning too, right?
I was listening to a lot of NPR back then, yeah.
Yeah. No, it was fun. What have been, 245 episodes. Any stick out as highlights or favorites along the way?
Probably, I don't know the number, but like I kind of mentioned right now, Paul Jarvis.
Okay.
He won from Company of One, the book. And I remember reading his book when I first started. And I was like, man, that's amazing. Like that I'm able to bring him on. Him, a lot of the startups, you're one, man, just to, you know what I mean?
That's not true. It's cool, man.
No, man, I like, honestly, a lot of them are amazing. And to be honest with you, like 100%, there are episodes that I record maybe once or twice a month that I never put out. I never put out because I just don't feel like there was a vibe. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or I felt like it was too salesy. Like the person I interviewed maybe was pushing their stuff too much. And I'm like, I don't want that. You know, I want you to be open. If you have an idea, don't be like, oh, and then sign up to my course to find out the idea. You know, I want you to tell me the idea because I'm going to ask you. And I think I was one of the first few to always ask, like, when people are like, oh, yeah, this consultant screwed me over. I'm like, who was that? And then you're like, you want to know their name? And I'm like, yeah, tell me their name.
Yeah.
Or I was one of the first to always ask, like, specific numbers on productions and collections and how they got there, like, specifically with numbers because people were so taboo about that before. But so, I'm just nosy. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I love that, man. I mean, you've killed the podcasting space too. I mean, for me, it's one of the top podcasts in the dental profession for sure. Probably top 3, out there. And honestly, this is because I love your approach. I love that, like listening. I love that, like being in the moment, asking those questions, even though they probably come off a little bit, like too nosy or whatever. They're awesome. I mean, gosh, that's something. I mean. Yeah, we've done our share of podcasting too, but we've gotten nowhere near what you've been able to do. So,
but you guys are great too. Like your production and everything, it's legit, you know.
Yeah, I mean, we took a different route. It's funny because, like, you know, ours is so much video based, but like I'll have, you know, it'll go up on YouTube, and like recently, my son was like, "Dad, how many views do you get on your YouTube channel?" And I'm like, "I don't know." And we're looking, and I'm like, "Yeah, it was like 178 for the last episode." And he's like, "Oh, my friend Jackson got like 1,200 views on his Fortnite video." And I'm like, "So let me tell you about views, son." And you know, anyway, it's just funny, but yeah, yeah. Any end in sight for the podcast?
Heck no, man. I plan to take that till forever. You know what I mean? Like I have so many ideas for the podcast. I mean, and that's the thing. Like I listen to everything that everybody tells me, like as far as the listeners, like if you tell me like, if a majority, right? I mean, my business is not focused on just one listener. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
or else we'd always be pivoting. But I like the way when they engage with me. You know what I mean? Like everybody, like especially if the main way people engage with me is through email.
Yeah.
And it's me. Like a lot of the times they think it's like another person sending them these newsletters or whatever. But no, it's like I'm literally writing it and I'm like, send, you know, and then my team's like, you talk weird in your newsletters. And I'm like, sorry, that's just me, you know? So, but they give me a lot of good feedback. And I like that communication, you know what I mean? And I know it's benefiting people all over the world right now. So, I mean, that's a good feeling, you know? I find really good fulfillment in that. I think if I had to give up everything and just do the podcast, I'd be like 100% okay with that, you know?
Yeah.
That's where everything happened.
Yeah. Hey, what do you think the future of dental conferences is going to look like?
Dude, that is such a good question. That's a heavy question. Pass. I'm kidding.
All right.
I think they'll come back.
Yeah.
I think they will come back. I think there will be more protocols, more systems. I think there will be a lot more virtual stuff too. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like I can't attend, but virtually I can. I mean, it's just hard to sit in front of a computer for like 5-6 hours, you know?
Yeah.
And then you have to do CE and everything. You got to take breaks. So I think there'll be adjustments to that, but it's not so much the learning aspect because I never really went to learn. You know what I mean? I went more for like to network, to meet with people, to like just chill with people. You know what I mean? Like make friends and things like that. And I really, really enjoyed that. So
yeah,
I hope that doesn't go away.
Yeah. I don't know that it will. I think humans are just always going to be hardwired for that. But that's interesting. All right. Couple things here as we wrap up. What was something you were most proud of about yourself during this last COVID quarantine season?
Oh man, that's a good question. So during what were you gonna say?
What did you handle really well? Like, what were you proud of?
I handled, after the first month or 2 months that I reacted, I think I handled myself and my team pretty well. Like in the sense of, we all could have freaked out even more, but I was like, well, we were all more like level-headed. That I think I handled like my nutrition and workouts okay, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I wasn't binging too much on Netflix as I thought I would, except for when The Last Dance came out. That was
epic.
I had to reschedule things. I was like, we need to watch.
You're like, clear my schedule tomorrow.
I did, because it was funny. I was watching it, and then I think it was like episode 4 or 5, and I was like, oh my gosh, I just started watching this. And then I looked outside, and it was night, and I was like, oh my gosh, I should probably turn it off. It was 3 a.m., and I think I watched it when it was still daytime, and I was like, well, tomorrow I have a call at 6, so I'm not going to make that. So I'll just reschedule that, and then I rescheduled some things. And
have you always been a Jordan fan, or did that kind of?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a Michael, so I was always like, oh, cool, you know, like let me study about him a little bit more in school, see what he's all about. I thought he was great. I just didn't know how great. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I would just see his games and stuff like that when he was in the Wizard, and then I'm like, but this dude, man, his grit.
Yeah.
His grit and his relentlessness, that's a lot of stress on himself, but like it shows, you know what I mean? Like he held up. And you know what was like the picture I always saw when he was like on the ground crying.
Yeah.
This is spoilers for anybody watching, but like there was like he was on the ground crying and like when he won the championship. And I remember people thinking like, oh, he's so overwhelmed with winning. And that's what I always thought my whole life.
Yeah.
Because of his dad.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh man, like you never know the demons people are fighting. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's true.
And that was deep to me, yeah.
Yeah, so true. What was most challenging through this last season?
Challenging, learning when not to work. Or learning when not to. I mean, you know what I mean? Like I have a studio space. Well, not anymore. Well, it's there, but nobody goes there, you know? So like we had studio spaces and I would go there, do work. But now it's like I wake up, work out, do work. And then, you know, it can be 9 or 10 p.m. And sometimes I open the laptop and just be on accident, consumed with work, right?
Yeah.
And so I think learning when not to just learning how to be home with, you know what I mean, my wife.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that was huge. Learning a new routine, it almost separated you a little bit from your professional identity. It was almost like, oh, your profession, what you do professionally could get taken away from you, like boom, like that. And then like, who are you apart from that? Right. So I think that was big for a lot of people.
Yeah.
All right. Second to last question. It's Friday night. You and Karina are relaxing after a long week. What are you guys ordering for food? What are you drinking? What are you doing to unwind?
Is it like a cheat day or not a cheat day?
Let's call it a cheat day. Like what's you're just living it. You're feeling it. You had an amazing week. You're like Friday.
I don't know if many people know this or not, but I'm pretty big on creating my own drinks, like my own simple syrups, my own, all these things.
Okay.
So I probably make something with either gin or bourbon. Depends on what that is. For food, dang man. So there's this place in, like if Popeyes and Popeye Spicy and if Chick-fil-A had a baby,
okay,
it would create this place called Hottie's Chicken, and it's Nashville chicken, but it's like, oh my God, toast breaded butter with like, oh man. And then like, imagine the Raising Cane sauce, but in there with coleslaw, and it's just so perfect. And then pickles, and then obviously like the French fries, crinkle cut, because other stuff is kind of weird, but crinkle cut fries, and then you dip it in either ranch, which is ranch, right? Or you dip it in ketchup. That I'll probably be doing that.
Yeah. Gosh. Yeah, I'm feeling that. Okay, so like, what are you drinking with gin? Are you like gin and tonic? Or
So, like, there's many drinks you can make with gin. So like there's one called Quixote, Quixote, and that one is with honey ginger syrup, Aperol, gin, but it has to be American gin, and then it also has lemon, and then an orange twist in there.
Oh wow!
And then dashes of bitters.
Yeah.
And so that, but you got to shake it, and then just pour it all with ice.
That sounds legit. Yeah. I mean, you're like, yeah, you're throwing some stuff out there for sure. We're definitely a bourbon drinker. I mean, my go-to is a Manhattan for sure. Joanna and I, Friday night, get some pizza, get a couple Manhattans afterward. But yeah.
Sounds good. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, dude, look, I appreciate you giving up some time today to be here. If people want to connect with you, learn more about you, what's the best place online to do that?
Yeah, they can go, wherever you guys listen to podcasts, you can just search The Dental Marketer. That's The Dental Marketer Podcast. Or they can go onto the website, thedentalmarketer.org, and then they can just reach me, find me there.
Cool. Awesome. Well, thanks, bro, for being here. I appreciate it. It was always good to catch up with you. Yeah, we should see each other soon. I know we were trying to get you out here to do some photography and video and stuff, but we'll have to look at that soon.
Oh, yeah, because of COVID. But we'll see. Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, get on the plane. Yeah, get on the plane and come out here. You'll be fine.
I want to, but I don't know if Karina wants to. That's the thing.
Yeah.
I don't
No,
think that's long of a drive either, right?
that's a long drive. Yeah, that's a no.
Yeah, that's a no. Okay, never mind, man. But yeah, man, I appreciate you having me on, man.
Yeah, cool. All right, man. We'll catch up soon.